Hello Fairview Tigers, and welcome to another episode on the Speaking of Fairview YouTube channel, a channel dedicated to sharing with you what's up with the Tigers as they focus on academics, athletics, arts, and acts of service. I'm Anna Januso.
And I'm Corey McCall.
And today's episode will be called Fairview S.T.E.M Academy, as we will be interviewing Mr. Burt, one of the advisors of FHS's S.T.E.M Academy. Here's our interview with him.
My first question is, could you just describe what the S.T.E.M Academy is?
So the S.T.E.M Academy is available for a junior moving into their senior year after you've applied in your sophomore year. And it's an opportunity to design and build a product of your choosing. This product can range from something that you could see an improvement on that already exists, or it could be something that you have thought up completely. It really is all based on where your interests lie.
And then my next question would be what careers would the S.T.E.M Academy help prepare a student for?
So it would be any professional career, honestly. We don't necessarily go into the business side of things as much, but taking a business course is one of the requirements for the S.T.E.M Academy. So really, it could be anyone that moves into a management position, knowing how to move through a project in a given timeline. It could be someone who goes into the engineering field, especially to know how to approach selecting materials for something, or how to gain guidance on an element of a project you might not know much about. So it's pretty wide open, but mainly for people who would be in a manufacturing, design, a product industry, something along those lines.
And then you kind of mentioned the final product that the students have to do. What other experiences are there for a student in the academy?
So the students, once they are in, we have typically gone on a couple different manufacturing plant tours, whether that's at Penelec in Erie or someplace Accutech down in Meadville. Students are also paired up with a mentor who works at a local industry who is an engineer. So they check in with them regularly, maybe once a month, to make sure that they're kind of staying on par with their project, but also to gain some insight on where they might need to develop their ideas a little further.
And then for my next question, what requirements does one need to stay in the S.T.E.M Academy or just be in? I know you touched on it a little bit.
So 10th grade year, when the applications come out, we are looking for students who are very well balanced with their academics, but also in their personal life as well. If they're leaning too far one direction, they're very involved in sports or something, it can be kind of tough, just because some of the work is pretty intense at certain times of the project. But we're looking for students to be taking math classes, taking science classes, taking business classes, taking a lot of the technology classes that we have as well. So that's CAD, engineering, some programming. All of those things really help prepare you for a curriculum that would be expected for those who are kind of interested in this education once you get to university or even a technical school.
And then how has the pandemic affected the academy? You said how the students usually get a community mentor. Have they still been able to do that?
They certainly have. We have not been able to really meet in person, so the meetings are mainly through emails or some Zoom meetings. The other part of it too is that because we're building something physically, a lot of the materials that we use are here in the school. So the 3D printers that we have, soldering things and cutting things out of different materials, that's very hard to do at home. So we've been kind of limited, although the students who are in the academy right now have been very resilient and really worked through it very nicely. So.
And then we also know that a few members got patents on some of their specific products and designs. Can you talk about the process of getting one and what students in your academy get one for?
Sure. So the types of patents that students have applied for are referred to as utility or provisional patents, which is a much more abbreviated process. you really just kind of write down your idea and supply some different pictures and diagrams. And it's kind of a placeholder because a normal patent, a full-blown patent, can cost $2,500. Typically, you have to hire an attorney because the wording that's in there is very specific and it's very binding. And if it ever infringes on another patent, you have to go back to the drawing board again, and it gets rejected. So a provisional patent or a utility patent allows you to just get your idea on paper. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's only maybe $100, and it kind of gives you 3 years to work with. For example, I believe Rowan Hayes might have put in for a provisional patent for her anti-fogging goggles that have a little bit of a heating element in them and a battery pack. And if they start to fog up, that heating element can kind of rid that. So it would just be something basic like that. You would describe that. You don't have to get into details about the materials and how you built it, or even specifically what the design is. It's just more of the general idea of it.
And then can you talk a little bit about like some of the projects that like current students are doing?
Certainly. So the group of seniors this year, one student, Jeff Zhang, created a Tiger tracker, or it's a bus tracking app and related hardware that would allow a student or their family to kind of check in with the bus service to say, yes, I'm going to be riding today, or no, I won't. The driver gets an update. If you are going to be riding and they don't see you out there, they can sit and wait as they might normally do currently. But if you aren't going to be there, they can just drive past. The other thing too would be, as a user, you would be able to watch live streaming on the GPS map how close the bus is getting. So if it's cold or rainy or something outside, you don't have to be waiting out there. Another student, Eli Yan, created a thermal winter glove that actively heats and when your hands are getting cold. So there is technology out there to heat a glove, but there isn't technology that is monitoring your body temperature at the same time. So this kind of fluctuates the amount of heating that glove would be providing. And then the juniors, some students are working on a sailing assist that would kind of help you with wind direction and, working on how to learn how to sail, or a self-jigging bobber, or an RFID-enabled golf bag that would be able to tell if you didn't put one of your clubs back in the bag. A lot of different projects that deal with elements of programming, elements of designing and printing different models that fit together. So it's definitely pretty exciting.
Yeah, those all sound pretty cool. And then that was actually our last question, so thank you for your time today.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming in.
This is now the end of the show. So to wrap up, if you're an FHS student, please think about if you would like to join this academy. Finally, I would like to give a big thank you to several people and apps that have helped make this podcast possible, especially our honors public speaking teacher, Mrs. Stevens, our principals, Dr. Lane and Mr. Bell, for giving us the opportunity to make this type of project, the app iMovie for enabling us to put together this podcast, and including allowing us to use its music, our interviewee, and you for listening to this podcast. I'm Corey McCall.
And I'm Anna Januso.
On the Speaking of Fairview YouTube channel. I hope you'll join us next time for another episode as we continue to highlight the academics, athletics, arts, and acts of service here at Fairview High School.